All right, good morning. Another episode of Rise Up here at Phoenix Sales. And we have a very special guest. Some of you might recognize this guy because he's pretty much every Monday lunch and learn from our friends at RAB. Ben Koyle, the Director of Product and Lighting Education at RAB Lighting. So Ben, thanks for coming on in.
Thank you for having me.
We got to talk about a couple interesting new products, but products that you think are products that contractors should be using, distributors should be stocking. They're two of my favorite products too. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about Ben Koyle. Like, who is Ben Koyle? Everybody sees your face on the internet. We see your face on YouTube. We see your face on the Lunch and Learns. What is the Ben Koyle story? How did you end up here? I mean, I kind of have a little bit of a time frame, but how did you end up doing this?
So, I've actually been doing lighting for about 30 years.
Okay.
30 years doing this lighting thing. When I was at Cal Poly Pomona doing my degree in electrical engineering, I had a professor. I took a class, microelectronics. He said, take my lighting class. I took a statistics class from him, and he said, take my lighting class. I took a third class from him, so 3 classes, and he said, you should take my lighting class. And finally on the 4th class was the lighting class. And
okay.
We would actually talk about lighting. We would, I think the class was like an hour and a half long, but we actually spent like 2.5, 3 hours just talking about lighting. And that is what sparked my interest, trying to figure out how to take the technical, the artistic, and being able to translate that so that people could understand that.
Okay.
People that aren't in the industry, how can I take something that an engineer over in China, an engineer in New York, designing, or Maryland for that matter, how can we take this technical stuff and translate it into words that a designer would understand, a specifier would understand, designer would understand, or even a homeowner, right? There's different ways that you go to those individuals, and that's part of that drove me to then get a lighting degree. So I have a Master of Science in Lighting, and then after I did the education piece, I said, hey, you know what? Let's look for different places that I can work, and so I was like, let's start off with a control manufacturer. At the time, we're talking, 30 years ago, you had control manufacturers, you had lamp manufacturers, and you had fixture manufacturers.
Yeah,
right?
There
wasn't a
combining.
conglomerate.
Yes.
So I said, hey, you know what I need to do with my career? I need to work for a controls manufacturer. I work for Lutron. Let's work for a lamp. I work for Sylvania. And then I said, hey, I want to work for a fixture manufacturer. So I came to RAB. At that transition is when Ledvance or Sylvania decided to go from lamps to do fixtures also. And then shortly after I started at RAB, we introduced LightCloud, the enterprise-based system. And then a couple of years later, RAB decided to start offering lamps. So the original plan was work for each type of manufacturer so that it could be a well-rounded individual. But now kind of that line is blurred between lamps, controls, and fixtures.
Okay. So unlike me, who has a degree or degrees in history and philosophy, which are completely worthless, I can talk about a lot of old stuff for a long time, and as many of you know, I don't shut up. You definitely have the lighting background.
Definitely.
Explain to me, and the only reason I'm asking this question is Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I've driven by it multiple times. I have a daughter who goes to the University of Vermont. I had friends who played ice hockey there. They have a lighting program. I didn't realize this.
Yeah, they have Master of Science. RPI with the Lighting Research Center has had a master's degree for the past probably 38 years.
Wow.
So they've had that program has evolved over time, but really the big thing about lighting, when you talk about like the IES, trying to mesh the art and science of lighting. So lighting is not just lumens.
Correct.
It's also how to correctly apply those lumens.
Okay.
So Rensselaer, what they really, their strength comes in is teaching people how a mirror works, how lumens work, but also teaching it how to apply. So I had Howard Branston, a famous lighting designer. He was my teacher, teaching me lighting design. I also had Narendran teaching me the physics of how optics work inside of a space. And so I had these two different pieces that mesh together. The IES talks about the the science of lighting. They also talk about the art of lighting. The LRC focuses on the art of lighting and also the science of lighting, so that when people come out, if you come in as from an engineering background, you get more of the design. If you come from a design background, you get more of the engineering. So you get this individual that goes out into the industry to be able to mesh these two pieces together.
So again, had friends who went there, biochemical engineering, nuclear fission engineering. One ended up coming out of a nuclear engineer on a Navy sub. So that's a lot.
They actually have a PhD program. So I went through the Master of Science.
Yeah.
They have a couple different master's program, and they actually even currently have a PhD program.
That's wild. So again, I think what's the reason I asked that question is, I want the people watching this to learn a little bit more about you, because again, you're kind of the forward-facing.
I've been doing this for 23 years.
Right. So
23 years online, 23 years in person. If you've been to Ledvance since 2004 to 2016, it was me.
Right.
If you've been to any RAB training from 2016 to today, it's me.
And congratulations. I think March is your 10 years at RAB. So
correct.
Happy birthday, happy anniversary.
March 1st.
Okay, so everybody out there, when Ben's talking, he really he's putting his money where his mouth is. He knows his stuff. What are two fun facts, or what's one fun fact that people don't know about Ben Koyle?
Well, in the trainings, if you've attended any of my trainings, I will slide in the fact that I do like bicycling. I've been racing bicycles since 1992. So
wow.
34
all road
years.
racing, right?
No, road racing, gravel racing, cross-country mountain bike racing.
Okay.
No downhill. I like the blood on the inside.
Yeah, that's
instead
a little
of blood
extreme.
being on the outside.
Yeah, me too.
So downhill tends to lend to having broken bones and stuff like that.
Yeah, my brother-in-law's broken his face and arms. And
I don't do anything that would jeopardize my road career.
No.
So, but I do go off-road.
Awesome.
And if you talk to my family claims that I own 9 bicycles. I feel as though I only own 6. But it just really depends upon your point of view on who actually owns the bicycles. So.
Yeah, I have a brother-in-law who's very much into biking the same way: road, gravel, downhill, and I think he's got like maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, if that's your thing, I think that's awesome.
I could own 12. I have an Excel spreadsheet that tells me which categories I've hit and which categories I don't have.
That doesn't surprise me. So again, Ben's a biker.
Yep.
Let's talk about these two products.